So I know all how that goes.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I know how that goes. I'm like, you're like annoying. Okay, it is setting up the live stream.
Cool.
It's setting it up. It's setting it up. It's setting it up. And now we are on my YouTube channel, and I'm going to begin the show in 3, 2. Hello, welcome to In Between Pages with James Lott Jr. I am James Lott Jr. And this is my live show, and I'm doing more live shows these days because my word this year is live. My spirit word is live every year. Last year was stage, and you know how that went. So this year it's live. I was like, I picked stage. The one year I picked stage, and then this thing happened. So it is live, and I'm doing more live content because I was raised doing live stuff all the time, and I love it. So we're going to talk to someone who I got to read this. I read this, and I was like, "Who are you?" I got to find out who you are now. As you can tell, I have shirts that have some weird sayings on them too. Stuff.
Love the
But
shirt.
he described. Thank you. I arted. He described himself as an actor, half-ass poet, quarter-ass painter, and no-ass writer. He has the Genuine, which is his poetry page on Instagram, and Bryan Cleans With Cheese. I don't know whatever the F that means. And he's giving me good hair today. Bryan McCulley, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thank you so much for that intro. That was great. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so stoked. I love the word for this year, live. That's great. I love that.
Yeah, have you ever heard that whole thing where you pick a word and that's like your word? That's your intention for the year.
Oh
Right?
wow.
That's the whole thing. That's your intention for the year. So every year for the last 10 years, I picked a word, and usually I try to walk into it that year. And
Mm.
one year it was radio, and I got a radio show that year. And one year was something. It was like they all do different things. It's like, and one year was actually painting.
Oh.
I paint. Uh,
Well, I mean, I've looked at your Twitter handle and all that stuff. Like, you have so many letters after your name. You got like the alphabet, man. I don't like. You're probably a master of all. You know the saying. You're like,
right?
Jack.
No, yes. No, what I do well. I don't just
Yeah.
do stuff like half-ass. I make sure I really focus on.
Well, I do shit. I do stuff half-assed. Excuse
Yes,
me.
you do. The customer comes out once in a while. It's fine. It's my network.
Apologize.
Hello, Kristen Marie, who's in the chat room. Some people in the chat room are watching. So hello, you guys, chat room people.
Hello,
Any
hello.
questions, ask, join the conversation as usual.
Yeah,
I'm going to actually share this right now again, as they do. This folks behind the scenes stuff. These are all things you got to do to get your shit out there.
totally.
You got to do that. And so I'm going to share it again on Twitter. I'll say, watch us. So how are you doing? I mean, in this whole weird, crazy world, how is Bryan doing these days?
I think early on, fortunately, at least for me, I adopted to just try to take it day by day, because one day can be good or great, and then the next day can be completely opposite. So I try to, literally just take it day by day and see what comes to me or comes along that day. Especially with when the pandemic kind of first started and we're in lockdown and all that. And it's like, oh, well, we're going to try to open at this date and all that. And once we learned that that wasn't the case, I realized, at least for me, that it's probably not good for me to lean on like they're going to open at this date and I'm going to be super prepared, and then because kind of get your hopes up and then let down, and then so I've just tried to take it day by day, and that's worked for me so far. And today, especially because I'm here with you, it's a good day.
Good day. And it's a beautiful day in Los Angeles too, actually. It's
Yeah,
very
totally.
warm.
Yeah,
I was like, where'd that come from? It's
yeah,
80-something degrees. I'm like, where? And I live in Inglewood, so I'm like, it's really warm down here. I'm like, why is it warm today? It's
yeah,
kind of
totally.
weird.
Now I'm sitting here in a jacket, but is what it
You're
is.
trying to look cool. You're trying to look cool. That's what's going on.
Trying to. Am I succeeding? Probably not. But
Yes, you are. No, you are.
Oh,
You're succeeding. Don't
thanks.
listen to those folks over there. You're succeeding. Whoever they are over there. Don't listen to them. They don't
Yeah,
know.
those ones. Yeah, there they are.
They're just why are you staring at me? Actually, they're gonna kill me in my sleep one day, I'm sure. So I mean, okay. So first of all, I want to talk about the painter part because I just mentioned I was afraid of painting.
Mm.
I was actually afraid of it, and I remember 20 years ago, my stepmother was a wonderful painter. She was a talented painter. She said to me one day, and excuse my language, she said, "Stop fucking talking about it and get a stretch canvas and some acrylic paint and try it."
Yeah.
Yes, mommy, I'll try it. So I went to a store. I was living in San Francisco, and I went to this place called Pearl, and I got all this stuff from Pearl, whatever. A little expensive now. I didn't know better. But then I tried it, and I realized that it's not about control. I was putting too much emphasis on, we gotta look like this, I gotta be like this, I gotta be this, I gotta be like, no, actually, that's the whole point. It's the freedom of creation. So I mean, so when you say quarter-ass painter, what kind of painter are you talking about? First of all, what kind of painter?
Well, it's one that probably aspires to paint more like you do. So it's, it's not all the way in. I'm dipping some toes. I early on in, I think it was like summer-ish was kind of the first time I really started painting. So I was gifted like an easel and some canvases and some brushes and paints, and I don't know anything about anything. So I'm just kind of going and trying and seeing what happens. And I did like 3 or 4 paintings, small, but like the first one, I think I was trying to do what you mentioned in the sense of, I was like, oh, it has to be like this, and it's got to be these lines and all of that. And I realized kind of quickly that maybe that's not my vibe, my style. And so I tried to just let whatever it was going to be. And, painting 2 or 3 or 4 kind of felt more like, oh, I get it, and it felt like I was expressing something or something was happening, an interesting thing that I hadn't done before. So it was brand new for me. And so it was a pretty cool feeling to be able to do that. And I like the painting world because, again, there's so many ways to go about it. And so just because you're maybe not painting inside this line doesn't mean that it's still not painting. And for me, that was good. That it was a cool experience to have that.
I'm I'm kind of a silent partner in a picture framing business. Um, Bonnie Lou Artistic Sector. My mother's name is Bonnie, so it's Bonnie Lou Art. She's Bonnie Lucille, so it's Bonnie Lou. And I learned about picture framing from her the last 10, 15 years. And that's where you see a lot of art. I like art. So you see a lot of paintings. And that actually helped me just go, there's all kinds of art. I mean, it doesn't even matter what comes out of you. It's all subjective anyway. It's like either they're gonna like it or not like it, doesn't matter. But it's
Totally.
all expressions of you. It's another side of you that's not music or acting or
Yeah.
writing. It's this free form thing that I have a dream that one day I want to do a show called Overcoming the Fear of a Paintbrush. I kind of like, because I felt really nervous about that.
Yeah.
And it's like, just like, I mean, it seems so, it seems so foreign. Like, I'm like, what is this thing? And like, I'm supposed to do what? Like, what do you do? Like, what do you do? And it's kind of like, you have to let go and just like you said, just see what comes out. But people think this painting thing, I think out of all of them, painting and drawing are the 2 things people just go, that must be just for special people.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I don't believe it to be that way. I think it's just the thing of you like, okay, being okay with you maybe not knowing how to hold the paintbrush, but you just doing it anyway and seeing what happens. Like that is really all that it takes. And unfortunately for myself, especially, I couldn't get past that part because I was like, oh, it is foreign. Like I'm not a painter. I can't even, I don't know what this is or mix these paints or what's this palette and an easel and canvas. And I had no idea. So I was gifted those. I had them in my possession. And then I was just like, well, let me just give it a shot. And I think for just starting in anything is probably the key, at least for me. And it's so scary to start. I spend so much time worrying about getting to the start, like, oh, I'm going to start on this day at this time instead of just starting. So I tried to adopt this thing instead of saying, oh, I'm going to start it then. If it's something that I want and I think it and I feel it, to start it right in that moment. So then I don't get in my own way.
Very smart that you learned that, and that's the thing. I say in my bio, say I'm a doer. I always say I'm a doer because there are a lot of folks in this town, you know this, who will talk things to death
Yeah.
and never do it. And then people die with regrets, or they feel like they're too old, or something happens, and they just go, "I should have did. I should have did." I'm like, well, you could have,
Totally.
but you have to stop talking because we will talk ourselves out of stuff. We will talk ourselves in a corner, and you're just in the corner going, "Okay, well, maybe when I'm 35, I'll do this. Maybe when I'm 40." And you just keep thinking like tomorrow,
Yeah.
tomorrow, tomorrow. And and time goes by fast, folks. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
It really,
Absolutely.
I mean, it really does. Like we said, we're joking about this whole last year, but literally almost a year ago is when all stuff started.
That's crazy to think about it.
Right.
Because
Right.
you're, I talk about this with roommates and friends or whatever, but it's like sometimes time goes by really fast and then it goes by really slow for me. And then you're like, wait a minute, what happened? And then like this thing happened and one thing happens after another. And then you forget about this major thing that happened literally a week ago, but you feel like it was months ago. And then you're kind of in this time warp vortex, place. And so, but ultimately, because it is going to be a year here soon, that I think is indicative that it goes by fast.
It does. So, okay, so are you from Los Angeles originally, or where are you from?
I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana.
I don't know any. I've been to the stadium and saw a Colts game once. I was
There
there.
you go.
I
Go
did.
horse.
I like my Midwest. My family's from Ohio, so
Oh,
Ohio.
okay. Yeah, I got family in Ohio, so I'm there all the time as
Yeah,
well.
I know it.
When I lived there in the Midwest, I used to work a lot in like Cincinnati and around Cleveland in that area and stuff. So,
Our family is. I
oh, there
miss
you
my
go.
Grater's ice cream. I miss my Jenny's ice cream. But they have them in the freezer section. It's not the same as like going to there and just getting it from there.
Totally.
I miss my Bob Evans breakfast. My
Bob
favorite.
Evans.
Bob Evans, folks.
There
I
you
love
go.
that. I love the biscuits and gravy. It's like
Shout out. He's looking for some sponsorship.
sponsorship. You know me so well, Brian, already. That's exactly. I'm like, I keep mentioning them more enough they may do it. I'm like,
Exactly.
the biscuits and gravy in the Midwest are real biscuits and gravy. Not the crap they put out here. It's like the white gravy with all the stuff you shouldn't eat. It's all in there. I mean, it's seriously, and I don't know about you, Brian, but I feel like the breakfast there tastes like the cow is outside, so the chicken, and they just brought it in. That egg tastes extra fresh. The yolk is really yellow. I don't know, it just seems different in us, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. Totally. I get
Yeah.
that. I don't know. Maybe that's just part of the deal, being in the with the farmland, I don't know.
You're Irish descent?
Yes. So the
Very
name
Irish.
the name is very Irish, but
Yes.
don't tell anybody I'm actually not as much Irish as I am Finnish. So my mom is
Oh,
100% Finn. And so my dad, he's comes from the Irish side and he's a mixture of things. So really I'm technically more Finnish than I am Irish. But because of the name, I always say, yeah, Irish, Irish, 100%. Don't tell anybody though. People won't find out, right? Is this live? Oh, okay. Got it.
nobody watches at all.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, James, I remember your stories when you were at Bob Evans. Yeah, whenever I go to Midwest visit family, I always say, I'm like, oh, Bob Evans.
Yeah.
Yes, I
I
did.
actually, funny story, I did a commercial for them back in the Midwest a long
What?
time ago. Yeah.
Now you're my new favorite person now. I didn't even know that. But you
Yeah.
realize it's so funny.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
are big in the They are big in the Midwest. I
Oh,
mean, they're
yeah,
from
totally.
Ohio originally, and they're big in the Midwest. And I'm also a Skyline chili person. I just got a can of Skyline chili today.
That's what I was gonna ask you about Cincinnati. I was like, there's Skyline chili, man.
Oh, my friends out here hate it. They don't understand. They don't understand that it's like when I say chili, they're thinking beans. And I was like, nuts. No, no, no. You don't understand. This has cinnamon in it. It's a little.
Yeah.
You put it over pasta. Over pasta. Like
Yeah.
no. Ask for a three-way. They think I'm being dirty, of course. I'm a four-way, please, or three-way. I'm like, it's not anything dirty. It's how they
Yeah.
make it. It's just cheap. So I remember whenever I fly into Cincinnati, you fly into Northern Kentucky. So folks at home, if you don't know this, it's actually located in the other. They're on the border. So I
Yeah.
always call it Kentucky Airport. And half the airport is Ohio stuff, and half the airport is Kentucky stuff. And they have Gold Star, which is not as good as Skyline. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a hot dog. It's fine.
Yeah.
But Skyline, oh my god! And they actually have Skyline restaurants. You can go into Skyline and get stuff. It's my favorite. And I found that on Amazon Fresh. I was able to order a can.
Ooh, there you go.
I'm gonna have some tonight. Very
Okay.
excited.
Yeah, cheers. Isn't the cinnamon, isn't that like the secret ingredient? Supposedly? Which it
Yes.
sounds like it shouldn't
Oh,
be,
right. All right.
but until you try it or have it,
Oh.
then you realize.
My mom and them liked it. Later, when I showed it to them, they liked it because
Oh, okay.
my father's family, they're from the Midwest. So I get. She's like, oh. So I did the DNA test recently, and I found out all kinds of stuff too. Actually, I'm like, what? I had to laugh. I found out, and it was on the thing there that I'm literally. You see what I look like, right? This is what I look like. So
Yeah.
my father's multiracial. My mother's black, whatever. It turns out I'm almost half white, DNA wise. When
Interesting.
I saw the number, so like it was like 15%, 10% French, 6% Scottish, 5% Wales, 4% England. Then it was like 15% Western Europe, which my family's
Wow.
from Holland.
Yeah.
My last name Lott's Dutch. So I was like, oh, so the markers I got from them were all the white side of the family. Okay, that was very interesting. It's like, okay, I'm white. No. That was my comedy joke for a while last year, but not this year. But it's like that was such an interesting thing. We talk about you being Finnish mostly and other things mostly. Our
Yeah.
names and stuff, they really don't matter at this point. I mean, at this point.
Well, and it's just so interesting to receive that type of like, the feedback when you get that and see the percentages and what the specifics are. And I know both my parents did something similar at whatever that,
Yeah.
thing is. And I briefly looked at the results and I need to go back and look at them. I've never done it personally. Obviously it'll be very similar, but or 100%, exactly the same, I guess, because they're my parents. So
No, it may not. That's the thing. That's the funny about this thing. The
Oh,
thing
really?
is, yeah, they say it's you like I have siblings who did it, and we had different. Our percentages were different. I mean, it's like like you said, it's the same
Yeah.
makeup, but the percentages were different.
Yeah. So that would be interesting to see.
Mhm. Do you
Cool.
come from a big family, small family?
I have one sister, so she's younger by 5 years.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, on my dad's side, there's a big relatives, and he has a bunch of siblings growing up. On my mom's side, she had two siblings, and there was a few cousins and stuff. So it was growing up, there was a decent amount of traveling to go see family and things like that, but larger on my dad's side in Ohio, actually, Toledo.
So, what came first? Poetry, acting, writing. What came first for you?
I fell into acting. Not f I didn't fall.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it was a choice, but so growing up, basically, I was coming from the Midwest. There wasn't, a lot of acting accessibility if it wasn't stage, right? And I haven't done a lot of stage, to be honest. And so I was always an athlete. So I grew up playing sports. My parents were athletes, and that was kind of a lot of my extracurricular time was, devoted to that. And so I did that whole route. I wanted to go to the NFL. I played at D1 college. I had, CFL tryouts and
Oh, wow.
other type of things. I tried to, go to pro days and had friends and all that stuff that continued on. I had an agent at one point.
What?
Yeah. And so I tried to go that route. It didn't work out. So I was like, okay, I knew the probabilities is obviously
That's right. Yeah.
yeah, it's like winning the lottery. So I wanted to be prepared and be in the league in some way. And so I have a degree in the front office. And then I stayed on and got my master's degree in physical education, but I was a strength and conditioning coach. So I trained a bunch of variety of teams. And so I was like, okay, hopefully if I want to be, go to the league as a player, but if that doesn't work out, can I be in the front office and do like sales or marketing, sponsorship, or potentially be a coach?
Okay.
Long story short, none of that worked out. So then I ended up just kind of grabbing trash bags and I flew to California and started studying and do all that. And
Having trash bags.
yeah, it's tough. Hey, it's tough, man. When you're in grad school, whew, man,
I know. I
they
know.
give you a stipend, man, but you can barely get by. And I was living in a place that in Indiana, cost of living is relatively inexpensive compared to here. But like times were tough. So suitcase was a luxury, man. Especially if I had one with wheels on it. Whew, that was like getting a new car.
I love it. So you came to California.
I
You
did.
said, you gonna do that. I admire folks who do that. I mean, like it's a big California's big, and it's
Yeah.
like LA is big.
Mm-hmm.
So you came here. So you got out here. What was the thought when you first got here?
Well, so just to preface this is that
Okay.
I did this was about a decade ago, and so I came out here for about six months or so, and I was studying, and then I went back to the Midwest just because I had more of a network and I didn't have a car, and so then I went back there and kind of took some of the information I had, and I immediately started submitting to there was a couple agencies around town, and I was fortunate that one of them wanted to sign me or represent me. And I kind of started that way and working kind of almost immediately, just having the bare minimum information about the industry and learning and starting studying at studios and stuff, you know. But as a kid, I will say what kind of triggered it for me was I remember growing up and I was watching some films with my dad. We would always watch like James Bond marathons and things like that during the holidays and stuff. But there was a couple films. And so one was Tommy Boy and one was Black Sheep. And like, these were films where I saw my dad cry for the first time, but it wasn't because he was angry or upset, but because he was laughing so hard.
Oh, yes.
And in that moment, I was like, wow, like to be able to have an impact on someone through this screen, but also like doing a thing that looks super fun to do and would look like a blast as your job or whatever, but then have this much impact and connection with someone, it just kind of like blew me away. I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah, it's so interesting. When I did my first acting stuff wasn't until my 30s, late 30s. It was a trip. It's like, wow, people are watching. I did an episode of House, which was huge at the time. It was a huge hit at the time. And I was in scenes with Hugh Laurie and stuff. And it was like, it was very interesting. See my friends who didn't know, like, oh my God, you were so good. And it was so great. And like, it was like, and it was fun when I did it. It was fun. It was a lot of technical stuff, acting, a lot of technical things, but it was like, I got paid for that. I was like, I had desk jobs and corporate jobs that I hated, and I had to work hard for that money. And I was like, so yeah, it was 15 hours that day, but that was kind of fun. I think I want to do this again, kind of thing. And then I did a commercial, and so I know what you mean. It was kind of like, this is really interesting. And people are like, I saw the commercial, and I love that. It made me laugh, like made me cry. And I'm like, that is a trip that we can do that to people, that we can actually control their emotions sometimes in our performance.
Yeah.
That's
and like you get a chance to. It's almost like you're connecting with them, or we're like in simpatico, like at that moment. Like we have a chance to share something together, even though we're not near each other, we're not close to each other. Where you could be thousands of miles away and still have that small, connection.
Yeah. As I say, what else do you like about acting? What is it about acting that keeps you going in it?
I think it's the ultimate team sport.
Oh, okay. Explain.
Just because there are so many people involved and they're all important and all the departments are important. And growing up being an athlete, I understand how important it is to have a team behind you. No one person does anything on their own. And I understand that, but I also think it's very powerful when other people together have that like-minded come together and have a common goal in something. So I think that's telling stories and filmmaking and being on set and being an actor, like that is probably one of the main things, is that you're around people for the most part that are like-minded and you're all working towards this one thing and you all want the best. And oftentimes you've all done the hustling for a decade, 15 years, what that's like. And so you're working now and you're fortunate to be on set and, have this gig and you're kind of appreciative of it. And yeah, there's like other factors outside of your control, time and money and stress and pressure and deadlines. But like in this thing that's happening, you get a chance to work with somebody and a team to create this thing.
That's true. That makes sense. I don't know that way. It makes sense. I know it's amazing that how things get made, and I'm doing directing and producing stuff, right, and writing stuff now. So I'm seeing the other side of it. It's like there's a lot of these new moving parts. It's like it's a miracle that like something comes together coherently and looks like something. It's like but it's like there's a bunch of moving parts in there, and it is magical. I think it's magical. I think it is. I know there's work behind it, but it's magical.
When you're finished with something, like that is a huge accomplishment, like regardless of what it is, just because of what you just said there. They're like, what? Like all of these things have to kind of come together to create this thing. And once you do it and it's complete, you're like that, that's something to be proud of,
It is. I agree with that. I totally agree with that. What kind of directors do you like? How do they help you? Which kind of directors help you with your performance?
So when I did like the very first kind of like film I did, I worked with like a friend of mine, but he also was born and raised here and worked out in the industry for forever. And he was my business partner at the time. And, you know, we just kind of like, we clicked and we understood, and we were both trying to do the same thing. And like, but what I did is I ended up watching the monitor on playback and like your performance and stuff like that. And what I found throughout the course of filming that is that I felt like what I was doing like declined, or I wasn't providing what I thought I was providing the more and more I watched myself. And so from that moment on, and that was about 11 years ago, I tend to not watch the monitor or playback unless specifically requested or required for maybe a technical thing or whatever. And I say that to say a director that I trust. Those are the kind that I love to work with. A director that I trust and trusts me. And I, at that point, I kind of let go of me looking at the monitor, because ultimately I'm probably going to look at shit I don't need to be looking at. Like, oh my God, I did this with my face or my hair or this. Did you see my clothes or who, what? Like nothing serving the project or telling the story or anything like that. It's all things that are like ego based and driven that has nothing to do with what I should be trying to accomplish. And for me, I just feel it's almost like being an athlete on a team, right? You have a head coach for a reason. So
Yeah.
you're out there and they're kind of guiding you based on this thing that's happening, and you trust that they're making the right calls. They're involved in what's happening. They're putting as much into it as you are. And, you know, and so that's kind of how I operate ever since that experience, which I think was great because it taught me that, hey, if you're going to do it, at least for me, I don't need to be looking at the monitor. If you say, hey, Bryan, moving on, or say nothing at all, and you're like, got it, great.
Right. You
Great.
must know you know what you want. I'm gonna trust that you know what you want, and you did get it.
Totally.
Right. But you'll
Totally.
tell me if we can get it. You'll tell me.
Yeah.
But
And I'm
chances
all
are,
for that too, where it's like, yeah, don't just like pat me on the back and say, oh, that's a good job if you thought it was horrendous. Like, just tell me. And that's like figure something out. Like, that's collaboration, right? That's teamwork, right? That's like working for something and that overcoming adversity or what, you know, all of those things. And I think that for me, because I have that background, that's probably one of my stronger attributes when I put it into this work. And I always use the analogy of being an athlete and an actor, right? So if you're an athlete, you go and watch me play on the field on Sunday, but you don't realize I've been training for an entire year, 6 days a week, all the practice and training tables and rehab and strength and conditioning and you know, diet and stretch and all of these other things that you're doing for this game on Sunday. Same thing as an actor. You see me in the theater or on stage or whatever on the TV screen, but you don't know I've been like in classes 3 days a week for 3 years at this thing to baby get into this one room, this casting director that, you know, and I'm writing my own stuff. I'm doing this. I'm constantly in workshops, you know, all the rejections and no's that led me to this point.
Yeah.
And most of the time people are like, oh, you get in front of a camera and act, like how hard is that? You know, and it's very similar to being an athlete. And to tie in when you asked me earlier too, like why acting, is that acting is the only other place, like so far in my experience in this journey, where I feel like I was an athlete in the sense of when you're an athlete, you get in the zone where like almost time and everything stops and you're just like, I've been in stadiums where it was so loud that it was quiet and you're running full speed, but you're also like, and things are coming at you super slow-mo and you're just not thinking and reacting. And acting is the only other place, being on set or being in the moment is the only other place that I felt that in my life that was similar to that.
I like that. I mean, it's very true, and I talk about this all the time with anything that I do. When I show up, whether it's for music or for movies or for a TV or for whatever it is, it's the sum of everything that I've gone through. I'm bringing with me.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything, good, bad, ugly, everything. It's all the training. It's all the hours. It's everything. You're hiring somebody complete. I'm coming in to do this for you. It's everything. It's not just that I just showed up and became fully formed and I'm doing this, but I like you say, it's all the stuff that you went through. It's everything. It's everything. So when they call upon you to get into a serious scene, you're calling on all that stuff or some of that stuff or part of that stuff to help you get through it.
Totally.
You know,
I tend to bring that with me because I think that I went through those things for a reason, you know, and if I can use those in my work or my craft or my art, it's almost empowering in a way, especially if it's a negative situation. So maybe you take this negative situation and now all of a sudden, yeah, I can call upon that and put it into this work. And it feels really good, not only to exercise it, but also, you know, deepens and layers and puts truth to your work. Like, man, that is a powerful, powerful moment.
I agree. Okay, on the flip side, is there a performance out there that you're like, oh, geez and crackers? Why? I wish it wasn't out there. Is there one?
For me personally, probably all of them, because
Yes.
yeah, I mean, we're our own worst critics, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know that. But there must be one that you're just like, that really was a stinker. I have a couple out there that I'm just like, I kind of walked through my scenes. It wasn't the greatest.
Oh man, I'm sure. Like, I know I do. If you go to any of my earlier stuff, I'm sure I could probably slaughter any of it, just
Yeah,
because.
right. Yeah.
But you know, like I think that in some degree it takes a little courage to do that, because you don't know. It's just like picking up that paintbrush. I don't even know how to hold it, but I'm just going to do it. And so I did it, and all of those things, like you said, informed me to get to this moment. I can't think of one specific one off the top of my head. That's probably because I tried to bury it and compartmentalize it way back there and never think of it again, like it doesn't exist.
Like,
But yeah.
James, stop trying to bring that up. I'm trying to leave it buried.
Yeah.
The garden, and buried in the garden somewhere.
Yeah, it's back there, man.
I love it. Okay, so speaking to existence, you mean the millions of people are going to watch this. Speaking to existence, what kind of roles would you like to play coming forward, and at this stage in your life?
When you asked me that, the very first response I had was television. I don't know why.
Okay.
I felt television because I know it's kind of right now, like television is it's a very unique scenario with it. And I think there's so much that's being done through shows and television shows right now, and so many topics being explored, and like, especially that combination of like cinematic, but also, you know, episodic. It's so interesting. And then with the streaming accessibility where you can binge it, like there's all of these almost layers that you would never have before if it was kind of like a procedural, or, you know, like a network show where it comes on every Tuesday at 7. And like that was the style that you're used to it. But now there's all of these new things that are added, almost layers onto it. And it's just, I just think there's some cool stuff happening there. So I don't know. There's like, I love like Billions and Peaky Blinders and Succession and like Sopranos, Entourage. Like, I mean, like, yeah, I'm putting it out to the universe. I mean, honestly, I think that at this stage, I mean, it's most actors, but you want to work, right? So just, and yeah, you got to pick and choose. I am not at that point to pick and choose necessarily. Although I will say I've been told that the password to the next level often is no. And so when you turn down things potentially for whatever various reasons, maybe that thing that you're really supposed to get kind of happens. And I've said no to things. I'm not in a position to like say no to everything, you know, but yeah, I think just getting a scenario. I mean, I'd love to be obviously like a series reg on something, you know, because of the opportunity to be able to put in like a body of work over an extended period of time.
Got it.
And often that scenario is you work with the same team. So you're just strengthening the rapport with your teammates, and you're like building a team. You're trying to build this championship level team
Right.
that can get to season 2 or season 20 or whatever that is, and you know, be able to be seen by eyeballs and have some type of impact and effect, but also tell like a story and be relevant and, you know, all of those things. So I you know, I love film, always will. I probably have more time in film, but I just think right now television is just, it's a unique space and it's an interesting space, at least for me. Um,
I can see you in television. I mean, your face can totally fit on television. I mean, it's like at television. When we say television, we also mean Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus. I mean, it's all
yeah,
kind of becoming this. The word television is becoming in quotes at this point.
yeah. And
I mean, I
I
can
put,
see the Mandalorian. Why not?
hey man,
And the outfit.
yeah, yeah. Talk. Yeah, there you go. Talk to your people, man. Talk to your
Like,
people. I'm
come on, Grogu's gonna get him. I'm gonna get him on Star Wars sets.
yeah, exactly. Let's
No, but
go.
yeah, but television. I just want to say for about there, television is this broad thing now, where it's Amazon Prime. TV shows are everywhere now, and you're right. It's a huge space right now that's evolving and changing. And I can see you on one of those kind of shows easily. Like easily. I mean, I will definitely keep my ears open. I know people here and there. I'll keep my
Oh,
ears
I'm sure you do, man. Yeah, you do everything, it sounds like. So, well, not sounds, you do everything. So,
so we'll keep that buzz. But I say my shows, like just say it out loud, and who knows, it'll come on down from the media gods or something.
yeah,
It'll
totally.
So I want to talk to you about poetry because we're both poets, but you say you're a half-ass poet.
Yeah.
So what does that mean, Bryan? What does that mean?
It means I probably wouldn't consider myself a poet. It means I more than, so for painting, I kind of put a couple toes in.
Yes,
For poetry,
yes.
yeah, for poetry, I probably, I'm wading in the water. I'm probably waist deep. It's something that I do pretty consistently, but I probably don't put as much time into it as I should. But it's also kind of like this unique scenario, at least for me, where it's like either I'm kind of given prompts or a prompt like hits me, and I usually don't take a lot of time. It kind of just happens. And so my goal when that happens is like to get out of the way and just let whatever the prompt is or the idea or the message is just kind of land on the page. And I don't know style. I don't know structure. I've never been into like a writing class. I mean, I've taken a few workshops now. But other than that, it's just kind of me kind of doing the paintbrush thing. But it comes to me in this kind of structure that I'm familiar with now, and it seems to be very almost lyrical in a sense, or singer-songwriter way.
Yeah.
But it's also like a thing of like, you don't want it to be like too like woo, like hippy dippy and like way out there and like I'm a poet, so let me lick this quill and ink and read my words and yeah, exactly, like, and so I try not to get into that too much, even though I feel like sometimes I'm in this world of like a gray area, and I'm just kind of, the words just hit me in this kind of order, and my job is to get out of the way and let them land onto the page. And I write in notes predominantly on the phone, and
Me
like,
too. Use all the
yeah,
time.
yeah. And so there's a bunch of ones I still haven't published that I have, and you look at them and then you start getting the ego thing and like oh my God, what was that? That's horrible. Or the like this your own worst critic thing, like what is that? But there was a while there earlier on where like people would just kind of send me words, and within our conversation I would have a poem for them and they would be pleasantly surprised by the content of it. And so it's almost like it's not even for me. Like and so like poetry to me is like almost like people are asking me for it, or it's not mine,
Well, I feel the same. It's funny you say that. I feel that way. My songs, my poetry, my stories are for other people. It's a service. I know it sounds maybe super noble or whatever, but I do feel like you said that, just hit me like that's how I feel. I'm like,
yeah,
to me, it's divine intervention. It comes to me however it comes to me. I'm like you. When I got a pad in front of me or whatever, I don't know if it's going to be a song or
yeah,
a story or a poem, and it comes out, and I let it come through me, and then I just go, okay, here you go. I mean, and literally it is for the people. It's for, because I'll post it and someone will go, I can relate to that, or I felt that way too, or that made me
yeah.
feel blank. On TikTok, I'm a TikTok star apparently. Don't know why, but 3 million views and counting. I don't know what's going on
Hey,
there.
do your thing, man.
I don't know, Bryan. I'm old, man. What am I doing on TikTok? I don't know. They like what I do.
Man,
So
I saw your post, dude. I know how old you are. I know your age, but no one would ever guess it, man. Plus, I was listening to your other podcasts, and you're like water and sleep and vitamins and all of this stuff. Like this, dude, you got the holy grail, I guess, man.
I guess my deep voice does help. I know that does help. But I have a series on it called A Lot of Spoken Word, and I do read my poems that I write for TikTok. It's TikTok, folks, you know TikTok, it's a minute or less. You can't do anything more than a minute. So it's a challenge for me to write something that's for under a minute that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it conveys an emotion. But apparently it's working. I've been doing it for the last year. But I feel like you, it's just I don't know where it's going to come from or what's going on, and when it does come, it's for others.
Yeah.
To have an emotion about it or behind it or laugh at it or smile or cry or whatever, it's for them.
Totally.
I mean, I think it is.
If there's a moment of like reprieve, especially now with everything going on, like that's great, even if sometimes there's the part of me too that's like, even if someone shits on it, like that's still kind of, you're getting some type of reaction. And so like, there's something to that as well, because it's not mine. So maybe you needed to feel that way about something in order to process something on your own. I don't know.
I like that. I always say because I've been in public eye for 13 years, and my little piece of the public eye, I've gotten criticisms and trolls and they say things, and
Yeah.
I've just learned that they have a right to not to like something I put out. They have that right, just like we have a right to not like what people put out. I mean, like it's like you give birth to it, give it to the public. It's up to them, and whatever. So I have to remind myself, like you kind of like, well, if they don't like this performance of mine or this song of mine, that's okay. But someone else does like it, so that's okay too. I mean, like I have to kind of figure out. You take the good and get the bad, get all the whole thing. It's like facts of life. I won't do all that, but it's like so much like that. Yeah, I had to learn that. I had to let that go and go. Once I put it out there, I gotta let it go.
Yeah,
it's not mine anymore. It's like you just said, it's not mine anymore. They have a right to not like it if they don't want to.
Yeah, it's definitely a give and take. A give and take. So,
but it's scary though. It's scary.
Oh,
because we're being vulnerable. We're being whatever in that moment, whether it's an acting piece or a poem or a song, you're exposing yourself, right? In a sense that, so it hurts sometimes when people say something like, God, why does he have a mustache and that hair? And I mean, you're thinking, well, why are they attacking me? I'm like, I did my best. Like, it kind of hurts. And so how do you handle all that stuff?
That's a constant battle,
yeah.
Constant struggle, man. It has to be. It doesn't have to be. It is for me, I guess. But anything you do, I think, has to be accessed from that area. So knowing that you're about to be in this vulnerable space, and then people are going to bash it potentially, like that's a weird, juxtaposition that you're in, because I feel, at least for me, that I'm coming when I'm vulnerable, it's coming from like a true, like pure place. Like I want it to be for good, for what this thing that I'm extremely passionate about. And like, that's, I want to do, and as giving back to others and stuff. But like, I don't know, I knock on wood, and maybe I shouldn't even say this, but like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not you, man. So like, I don't have the 13 years, a bunch of people following you. Maybe I'm about to get a whole bunch of like trolling and haters or whatever. So I'll get back to you and tell you how I feel.
Let me know how it feels.
And I'll probably be like, hey, James, you remember that time? And like, or maybe I'll never even talk to you again. Like maybe that's the outcome, because I'm like, I can't go through that ever again. No, but I know you have to have thick skin, and I know it's not for everybody. And there is part of it too, right, where they say if people aren't bashing your stuff, then you're probably not doing it right.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean, it's like I always laugh and go, but you're still watching my stuff.
And that's where I got to put the money where my mouth is. If I just said, like, hey, man, you can go ahead and bash it, and maybe that's what you need. And that's the goal. Like, ultimately, if you like it or if you hate it, like, I'm still kind of doing my job, which is to cause something to happen or to connect with you in a way that I get to live I get to occupy your brain space for a little bit,
I like that. So what is Bryan Cleans With Cheese? Folks don't know what that is. What is that? It makes me laugh every time, but I mean, what
I
is
love it.
that?
But see, like Bryan Cleans With Cheese, you already know what it is, but
Yes.
maybe you don't know what it is. And
Yeah.
so what,
All right. So we keep it as a mystery? Should tell people just to go tune
no, it's
in
not a
and see
mystery.
what should
So basically, I have a friend of mine, Doug Hurley, who created this thing and had an idea, and he called me and pitched me on it. He said, "Hey, man, I have this thing. It's Bryan Cleans With Cheese. It's basically HGTV meets Adult Swim." And I said,
Yeah.
"Hey, you had me at Bryan Cleans With Cheese."
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
and but it's just this, I don't know, it's just this fun thing that we're doing that's kind of turned into this opportunity for us to again create, be active, create content, flex the muscles. And I'm helping write and act in it, but also potentially produce, and we go back and forth. I mean, we've spent days trading audio text messages about where the show's going and all of these different nuances and layers, and like 3 days of backstory on this thing. And so it's kind of it's a show, right? We're developing it, we're creating content, we're in the process of rolling it out in a few weeks. We've been fortunate enough to get a little bit of traction, and we've sent it to some of our friends and some other people. And the interesting thing about it is that there's varying aspects of the show, and people like different parts of it. So different things are their favorite. So it's like almost this broad spectrum, this broad scope of things that falls in the tone of HGTV meets Adult Swim.
I love it. And I do. I love it. I think it's just the title enough. It's just like, what the F? Like, what?
Yeah.
It makes you want to tune in. It makes you want to
cut. Exactly. Like, and ultimately, I think it should be fun. It's about this earnest guy, really, that's really passionate about what he does and very sincere. And he wants to utilize what he's doing to just kind of give back. And it's just all about giving back to other people. And, if you have a chance to watch it and you're like, exactly like you said, you're like, the title is crazy, but then you're like, what the F? But then you chuckle, or then you're like, this is crazy. And you have that moment of just like being at ease or being engaged in the content to stop thinking about being stressed out or anxiety or whatever is happening personally. Then I think not only is that's what happening for the guy in the show, but I think that's the goal overall as well. It's just about this earnest guy that truly wants to give back in his own way, which, based on the title, may be involved with some of that.
Yes. Well, there's cheese in there. See?
There is going to be cheese, and we're super stoked to show everybody. By the way, it will roll out. Yeah, thank you. It will roll out hopefully here in a few weeks, and it's kind of grown. It started off like, hey, let's just have fun, flex these muscles, create, right? It's super important. And that's something that I want to do, not just like, I've been fortunate to direct and produce. And actually, I got a reminder from Instagram today I directed a short film 5 years ago. So like, getting back into those type of things. And I think it's important for an actor anyway, but I just like creating, telling stories, being on set, being around like-minded individuals. So that's kind of how it started. And that's why didn't even have to explain the title or the concept. He didn't even have to pitch me. I probably said yes. He's like, hey, I have this. Yes, please. Yes, please. We're in a pandemic. Like, I need to exercise. I need to do all this.
Right. And you guys have to come back. You have to come on the show for that. You guys have to come on together.
Oh, we'd love to, man. Yeah, we'd love to have you back. And I think it might be cool if maybe you were like in the show.
I'm here. I'll do it.
Cool.
I'll do it.
So maybe
I have no shame. I don't have no shame. I have no shame. People say,
clearly I don't either.
I was dressed as a taco last week on Let's Make a Deal on national television.
I saw that. Yeah, that was so funny. That was so funny.
I'm saying I have no shame. Apparently, I'm wearing leggings.
Okay, so now, interesting enough. I know on 2/22 there is going to be taco. That's Tuesday, right, or something like that. So let's do maybe we shoot for a Taco Tuesday thing, and it's all with twos. I don't know why, but this is how Bryan Cleans With Cheese operates. We take these really obscure things, and somehow content is developed from it. I don't know, but maybe we're cleaning the taco, or we're cleaning your kitchen so you can have a 2/22 taco party, or I don't know. This is welcome to the group messages.
Whatever, just tell what you need.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on the show.
Just tell me what you need. I'll give you whatever.
Cool, but we can also come back with myself and Doug, and I'm sure he'd love to be on there. And he's got a dog, Biggie, too. Shout out to Biggie. Posted a picture of Biggie.
Hi, Biggie. Oh, I love animals. But yeah, no, definitely. Whatever you need from me, I'm in. I'll do. All my friends know I'm always game for stuff. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, come back on and promote the show itself.
Cool.
So I mean, you've been out in LA for a decade.
No.
How long have you been out here?
I just got here November 2019.
Oh, you've been here. Oh, you've been here over a year.
So good timing, right? Right before.
Oh my God, that's right. Oh my goodness, I was gonna say. So I can't even ask you the normal questions I would, because it has not been normal in LA.
Fire away.
This. I mean, you haven't really done anything really, because it's been so crazy here.
Fire away. Maybe there's something in there. I don't know. I was
gonna say, how is LA compared to Indianapolis for you, or the Midwest? I mean, I'm trying to think. I guess that's a good question. I guess.
Yeah, that's great. You can't compare the two. There is no comparison. Right. Because Indianapolis predominantly is a commercial market, and it's a non-union market. My focus is TV film. I've been fortunate to work in the Midwest and predominantly in commercials, so I do have a lot of mostly non-union experience. Actually, back in the day, one of the very first commercials that I got cast in was a AFTRA commercial. So I actually got Taft-Hartley'd in it. Back in the day. But it was interesting because it was with kittens. So that is one of the things. So working with babies and live animals is super tough, can be super tough. And so we're working with these little kittens, and they were supposed to be racing, and that's how you got your lottery numbers at the end of it, whatever kitten won. And so that was a time warp for me, dude. I'm sitting on set, the director's here. I don't even know how I booked it. I'm yelling. I've never been on set. I'm screaming. I love cats, dogs. I'm an animal person, so I'm having fun with these. Yeah. They're like, dude, you're trying to do a commercial here, man. I'm like, woo! So it's
oh my God, I love it.
it. So that was kind of one of the very first ones, but there is no comparison in the sense of LA is obviously the place for TV film, and a lot of the creators and decision makers are out here, and there's a community unlike any other of actors and creators and writers, and so that part has been amazing. And I was super fortunate to land in an area that I fell into that, where I was able to kind of get somewhat of a network super early on once arriving here that helped kind of stay the course. And I think I talked with another actor the other day about this, and I said, I think landing where I landed as far as living situation is probably the number one thing that's helped me at least be productive, if that's what people want to do. I wanted to do that, be productive. Otherwise, it would be a struggle, I think, to not have a crazy living situation and not, rent and this and if you had to worry about that on top of this thing, that's already, one of the hardest industries in the world. I couldn't attest to, the difficulty in that.
Well, I can tell you're a nice guy, so I can tell. I can see why people flock to you. I couldn't even imagine, and now you can't get rid of me. Now I'm in, so you're not getting rid of me anytime soon. Now you're part of the village.
I love it, man. I
Find a
love it.
village. And I wish you all kinds of success. You're gonna have to come on the show again and again, and we'll talk and we'll do things together and stuff. And you're now you're part of the team. You're in there now.
I love it. I love it. It's been a pleasure, man. It's great.
Folks need to hire him. He's for hire. Where's my camera? He's for hire right here. He's for hire. Hire him. TV. Get him now while you can.
Yeah.
Too late.
Am I plugging myself? Can I unrepresented? I don't know if I said that. Unrepresented.
Tell him. I'm like, tell everything. Hello, this is like the whole world's gonna go out to the whole world. So I'm like, let them know what's going on. And my folks listening in here, tell people, tell your people out there.
What are they saying? Hi, folks. What are they saying? Have I said hi to them?
Hi. You did earlier, but he said hi to you, and they were mentioning the different things we're talking about, the Taco Tuesday thing, the growth.
Do they think that's a good idea? Ask them if that's a good idea. I think there's something to that.
Good idea. I think we don't even ask them. Everybody loves Taco Tuesday.
Yeah,
no one does not like Taco Tuesday. Everyone loves Taco Tuesday. They love me, so of course me. Hello, of course. So it's gonna be fine. Anything I'm in is gonna be fine. No, I had a friend call me once and goes, James, I wrote a role for you. You're doing it, and it's in 3 days. So make sure you're free. And I think that 3 days later it was Mother's Day, my birthday. And I go, it's my birthday. He goes, and on your birthday, you will be doing this role that I wrote for you in 3 days. And so he wrote me as a bad host because it's so not you, James. Like, it's completely opposite of you. I was like, what is it for? He goes, don't worry about what it's for. Just come on out here. Turns out a movie with Vivica Fox and all these people were in it. I'm like, oh, it's called Second Chance at Christmas. And everybody saw it and it was fun. But I was like, when you guys call, I'm like, sure, I'll just do it. I'll do it.
Love it.
You only live once.
Love it when people are reaching, but it's because you're so giving as well, not only with your time, but I can tell your energy and what you do, and you're putting people on platforms, like you're reaching out to, people that may have not had a chance to be on other things like that. That is why it comes full circle, man. That's the karma of it. That's the giving back. Eventually things land in your lap because they're like, yeah, not only is James great at what he does, but he's like a good dude. And most of the time, you just want to be around people that are good people.
That's true.
And not only are they really good at their craft or their skill or their trade, but they're actually like good people to be around. I mean, there's part of that in the world of like, do you want to go be on set with someone for 6 months if you don't like being around it? I mean, yeah, that scenario happens, I'm sure, but if you have a decision in that, you might lean the other way often. I don't know.
That is part of the secret about Hollywood folks. They don't understand that. There's like a lot of folks that go, these folks get hired and everything because they're nice.
Yeah.
Because they're nice people and people want to be around them. That's why they get hired. Yeah, they got talent. They show up on time, all that stuff too. But it's also people like them. I've been on set so many times where the folks would just love you. You couldn't get enough of them. So like you want that experience again, because when you're on set, folks, whether it's a movie or a TV show, I've been on both. There's a lot of hurry up and wait. There's a lot of over here changing the lights. I mean, there's a lot going on. So you have a lot of downtime. Actually, what you see on TV or movies is very little of what goes on the whole day.
Yeah,
or whole night, or whatever it is, right?
And I encourage people, like, even if you're not in the industry or want to be an actor, like it's kind of a cool behind the scenes scenario or experience just to have, just to kind of get a small glimpse into how a day is. Like if you can be an extra or whatever, like that's a great, and it's like life experience, but it's also a thing maybe you check off your bucket list or whatever that is, especially if you're in LA or, a lot of productions are moving to regional areas because of tax incentives or whatever, like, and the worst it is, like you said, you're on 12, 15 hours and you don't like it, but like you have this cool experience to talk about, and you kind of get a behind the scenes idea of how things are put together. And that's pretty cool to have.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you can be a background actor and things like get a little pay at the same time and just see what's going on, or be an extra on a video. When they have these little, like I say, people, you should try it at least. I'm just kind of curious. And you can just see all the ins and outs, or kind of what goes on and what boom mics are, and this is over here, and it's a lot of great stuff. So I just want people to know it's a very interesting business. And it's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of hardworking people. The crew is always like the hardest working people in the business. So we give them.
Yeah, I mean, I love
Bryan. Tell folks how hard the crew works. I mean, you know how hard the crew works.
I was just gonna say, like, I love when I hear stories of people, whoever it may be, like actors, directors, producers, showrunners, execs, like congratulating crew and thanking crew. And I've been fortunate to be on some sets to be able to listen to these speeches. And it's like, it's such a great feeling, because literally without them, like, it takes everybody, but without them, things don't happen. It, like, the crew is like the lifeblood of the set. Yeah, like maybe shows get greenlit or movies get greenlit because there's names attached or directors, but like, again, it's all about the team aspect. And if it's this one star, this one whoever may not do the best work if this crew isn't behind them, like pushing them up, and vice versa. So those are great stories. When I hear those are feel good stories. Like, crew is everything. And I tend to kind of like, because I've had a small production company and I've directed and produced, and I've done like varying things behind, like below the line and behind the scenes, that I kind of tend to find myself like gravitating towards the crew anyway. Just because like I know like a small amount of a variety of things to like get myself in trouble. So then I'm always like asking like, oh, what camera is this? Or what's this lens? Or what's this do? But it also, I feel like it helps me as an actor. If I'm on a very technical scene or set working with a technical director, like you said earlier, what's your favorite kind? And they're speaking a lot of technical things to me and I don't know what that is, but I give the best performance that I think I've ever done, and they can't use it because I'm blah, blah, blah. I didn't hear any of the technical things, or I didn't know what they were. Then what good is that? And so, plus I'm legitly, I do want to direct and produce, like, again, in later on in my life, or now, or whatever the universe says or whatever, but I'm definitely interested in that as well. Like, all of those experiences, just being on set or telling stories, is what I'm about. I just happen to be in this acting lane right now.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. The crew, I'm always grateful to the crew. I'm always like, hi, Bill, hi, Don. I get to know all their names. I'm that kind of person. Like, what do you do again? What do you do? And we talk. And I had some, and on that shoot that I did, that last minute shoot, my birthday, I got to know craft services, and she had this girl who had an incredible story about how she got there. And like, I love that stuff. I'm a more people person anyway, but I just think so. And just to say your fact, I also like to give back to people, and people gave me chances, so it gave me opportunities. So I do the same for others. It's just part of the universe. That's how it should be. Not everybody does it, I know, but it's how it should be.
Yeah, I wish there was more people like you, myself included, more often, because I think it's key to just being a human,
I think so too.
and it's I think when you do that, I talked about this with a friend the other day, like when you are in that space, like all of these other things that you may be bothered with throughout the day tend to fall off, because you're doing this thing without expecting anything in return. Right. And it, like, you're like, oh, wow. Like, so for some reason now I'm not worried about hitting the curb when I go to park, or like whatever, my gas tank is always on E, or I tripped over my shoelaces, or, things that like make you, I don't know why it's a shoelace thing. Who trips over their shoelace, but I don't know. But you know what I'm saying? Like those little small things that like are kind of insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but we tend to like let them affect us.
We amplify them.
Totally.
In a way that makes it just like, it's not that serious. Like, really, it just really isn't. And we learned that this last year. A lot of things aren't that serious compared to what's going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You learn that. If nobody's learned that lesson yet in the last like year or so, I will tell you. It has been crazy. It's been, my friend says it wasn't. He goes, was it 2020 like a movie? He goes, no, it's like a trailer. It was like all these a series of things, just like, and then, and then, like, in a world, that whole thing. It's like, that's how it felt last year.
Get the dude with the deep, you should narrate it. Get the dude with the deep voice and just be like, look, it's just, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this.
And this.
Don't, exactly. Did you blink? Because you missed it.
Totally. Like, and 2021 seems to be starting off some interesting start too. So we're gonna hope it's gonna be better this year for all of us. Yeah, it's gonna be good. So I hope so. Bryan, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, James.
Tell folks where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Bryan BRYANP Patrick McCulley MCCULLEY. You mentioned Bryan Cleans with Cheese. We're getting ready to drop that in a few weeks. So that can be found on Instagram, the poetry page at _genuine. IMDb. I'm not as cool as James. I don't do TikTok or anything like that. I don't know. Maybe I should. Maybe not. Probably not. Let's see where else. I don't know.
I love it. That's so.
Some stuff like that.
Do you have any projects coming up besides that? Any projects coming out?
So I just spoke.
That you can mention.
Yeah, totally. Been getting a decent, so kind of one of the things for me for it was 2020, but now 2021 especially, was I wanted to kind of get into a little bit potentially more VO, just because you can do it at home, and I know that it's additional potential source of revenue. And so I ordered some equipment. One of my roommates actually has his own company and he's huge in the game. So I've kind of been begging him to help me do some stuff. So he gave me some stuff to order, and I'm going to try to set up to get into that. And then because of that, I literally have received 4 or 5 dubbing voiceover auditions. I just had an audition for a mobile video game where you get to play characters. And so I'm having a lot of fun doing that, because it's outside of the drama, so serious, do this thing. I can be whatever, I can be a kangaroo that's hopping through the whatever.
It's funny because I have 7 audio dramas and comedies in production right now, so I may have to have you guest star on one of them or something.
I would love to, man. And I'll even audition or whatever, and you can tell me, no, you suck, get out of here.
You want to audition. I'm thinking something whimsical. You said something whimsical, maybe something really whimsical.
Yeah, anything, man. I think it's kind of cool to break up the just to change it up a little bit. So that's been fun. So I've been receiving, because of that, oddly enough, some voiceover stuff. We're in the prelim talks. Somebody reached out to me for one of a network's new streaming platforms for a documentary series. So it's kind of prelim stuff. So they're going through. So my hat is in the ring on that. I potentially will be back for some ADR on something that I worked on last year that has some people in it, some really good crew members and directors, and some names attached. It's because of the COVID, which a lot of things have been pushed back. But there's another film that I did out here kind of when I first landed that I didn't even audition for. They just kind of said, hey, based on the stuff. So that was really cool of them. And that was fun. And it has to do with the homeless scenario kind of here. It's based on that here in LA. And they said there was kind of some people in that world behind it. So that was pretty cool. Okay. I had a film I did back in Indiana, just became available on Amazon Prime, called Myth, Myth Bigfoot Hunters. So that's on Prime. It dropped a couple days ago.
Okay. That's right. And Donna Lynn Curry says, hi from Montreal. Really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you, Donna Lynn from Montreal. Yeah. I've been to Montreal. Great town.
I don't know if I've been to Montreal. I've been to Toronto a few times. It's great.
I've been to Vancouver, and I've been to Montreal, and I've been to Quebec. I was told it's called Quebec.
Oh, okay. So I've been pronouncing it wrong my whole life.
Same here, me too. They say it's Quebec. I've been to Montreal. I like Montreal. Great town. So.
Learn something new every day, man.
Yes. I had the poutine there, folks. I had poutine. It was very interesting tasting. Very interesting. The gravy. It's the gravy was interesting. So I had that there. But she says from Montreal watching. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Everybody, I'm James Lott Jr. Of course, it's my network, JLJ Media. I have over 35 shows on here. So go ahead and check them out, from Star Wars to the soap operas and everything in between. Go ahead and subscribe, and comment. If you're new to this channel and watching, you just found me, hit that button. I think it's down there or over here. It's somewhere down. I point the wrong thing. It's a red triangle. No, you said triangle. Red rectangle thing. So I can't get that right. So it's down there.
You're good.
Hit it. Yeah. I have a lot of audio stuff too, which is on every streaming service, from iHeartRadio to Spotify to Google, Apple. It's everywhere. Just JLJ Media. Just type it in. And where can you find me? Where all James Lott Jr.'s are sold, at James Lott Jr. on all social media platforms, including TikTok. Just type in James Lott Jr. and I will pop up. my smile, my face will pop up somewhere. Not in your homes or anything, but just on the screen. They'll pop up on the screen. And go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment on there too. And thank you so much for watching us on this Thursday afternoon. Everybody, please be careful and be safe out there. We'll see you next time.